I woke up this morning with God on my mind. He's always by my side. I know it'll be a good day. Trials come, but they don't ruin my life. Because I have the light, it's always a good day. I believe everything I said is true. The word is inside you. Declare it is a good day.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It is your girl, Donjia M, and we are back again for another episode of Ask 15 Questions 2. And today I am here with my very amazing, knowledgeable, inquisitive, beautiful best friend, Tiffany Rodriguez, everybody. And Tiffany is here with us today because we are asking 15 questions to a Primerica representative. Yes, life insurance. She has been bugging me about all of the things life insurance and Primerica related. And I promise I'm going to get on it. So I wanted to share this information with you all so we all can learn about Primerica, the company, the misconceptions about life insurance and all the things. But we're going to jump right in. So Tiffany, do you have anything to say before we start?
So I just want to say thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share my great company with all of your followers and everyone that, allows you to have their platform. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. So let's jump right in. Question number one. And y'all, I'm ready today because y'all know I'll be missing my questions. I got my phone right here today. But question number one, and I know you have some, you're going to share with us the information on your screen. So question number one is, what is Primerica?
Great.
What is Primerica?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I love sharing my screen so you can actually see this. So super proud of the company. We are actually the largest independent financial services marketing company in North America that expands through Canada and Guam. And we actually have more than 126,000 licensed representatives, meaning everyone has a state license. They cannot do any business with you unless they're certified. Also important to know is that we are a publicly traded company and we've been publicly traded since 2010. So if you're interested in investing, you can look up our ticket symbol under PRI. And we've been in business since 1977. A really fun fact is that our business started by Art Williams, who was actually a teacher and a football coach. And so he started the business on a part-time level until he realized exactly how important it is to serve middle-class America. So that is just a bit about Primerica.
Yes. Thank you. Look at me snapping. Yes. So y'all take a picture of this information, but we're going to include Tiffany's information at the end for anyone that will be interested in becoming a representative or even just signing up for life insurance if you don't have it already. Question number two, how long have you been with the company?
That's a great question. So yeah, I've been with Primerica for since 2016. So that's about 4 years going on to 5. And I did take a break when I was pregnant. So I actually took 2017 off and came back in 2018, ready and motivated.
But that break is necessary. Okay. So question number 3, how is Primerica? I always say the name wrong, y'all, and she gets really upset, but she can get upset with me because she's my best friend. Primerica, I'm saying that right?
Yes.
Okay. How is Primerica different from other companies?
Great. That is one of my favorite questions. So let's talk about it. Typically, when we talk to families, right, we know that families are busy. Everyone has a busy schedule. They have so many things to do. And so if I were to say, Donjia, when you got car insurance, did you analyze 40 different companies to see exactly what everyone was going to give you?
Not 40, but a few.
A few, right? And so the reality is that we don't have that type of time. So what Primerica has done is we actually delivered all financial services to the family's home. We consider ourselves a one-stop shop for everything finance. So if you look at this chart here, these are all of the things that Primerica functions in. Yes, we are known for our life insurance, but we also target all parts of a person's financial house. So for instance, if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see that we take care of 401k plans, so things relating to retirement, annuities, college funds for children, mutual funds and investments. We also do legal and identity protection, which all of you know that in 2020, it's extremely important to be protected because identity theft is on the rise now. We also do long-term care. So if you have family members that are sick or, on disability and they need someone at home to take care of them, we offer that. And we also offer auto and home solutions. Quite recently, and this is something that's been expanded, we're actually working on mortgages right now with Quicken Loans. So we are doing a lot of things. And if you look at all the companies here, you might not recognize a lot of them, but I'm sure there are a few here that you might know. And these companies we partner with directly. So I might not be a master at annuities yet, but someone from Lincoln Financial that we partner with can help you directly. And so what we do is we offer this education by sitting down with you at the kitchen table, and we teach you all of these financial concepts, and you figure out what's important for your family.
Wow. So definitely. So I'll like say, I definitely only thought, well, prior to everyone meeting Tiffany, I thought that Primerica was only life insurance. So her giving all of this information of like all of the things that they help with, that they assist with, it definitely opened my eyes because I just, I heard about Primerica years ago, but it was in reference to, at first it was for recruiting. I don't think I told you that. At first it was for recruiting. And then secondly, it was for just life insurance. And even then I wasn't given like all of this information. So that is amazing that this company is able to like offer all of these things.
Great. And I also want to add to this. So there's some other important information that I just want to share too. The one thing that once we sit down with clients, we actually present to them this concept of a financial needs analysis, which we learned is a financial game plan. So one of the things that we teach families is that if you don't have a plan in place, you're not really sure where you're going. So for instance, let's just say a family has a dream of owning a home. If there is no set game plan, there's a chance you may not achieve that dream within the time constraints that you allowed yourself to. So when we sit down with families, we don't just talk about the financial concepts, we add another layer to it. And that layer is, let's sit down and put this physical game plan together that's visible for you. And it's a very concise, constructive, customized game plan. Because again, for instance, like if we're not the same age, but if we were the same age, Donjia and I had the same, we actually work at the same place. However, our financial thumbprint is unique, right? Everything is different. And so we meet those needs. And the good part about it is that this financial needs analysis is not just customized, but it's complementary. It's free. A lot of financial organizations, if you attempt to go to them, if you don't have liquid cash ready, they won't sit down with you, right? And a financial game plan also costs a couple of $100 to probably $1,000, which we know that is not necessarily feasible for middle class America, And then just to put more visuals to it, we talk to families about building a financial home, right? And so I know we'll probably be touching base on this later, but if we look here, a house starts at the foundation, right? If we started at the roof, the entire thing would go crumbling.
It would be nothing.
So we say here that and we'll discuss this later, but that the importance of life insurance, that is a family's foundation. And I'll touch base on that more. But as the layers move up, we talk about, once you have that in place, having a budget, having an emergency fund, having a will, especially if you have children, right? Accelerating payoff debt. We know that there's a lot of people in debt. Almost everyone we probably come across is in debt. How do we help them eliminate that faster and stay out of it? How do we do that? Retirement. I can't tell you how many people I see. I'm sure we've all seen it. Elderly people who should be on a beach with a margarita are sadly at Walmart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we need to, how can we eliminate that? And then lastly, college savings. We want all of our children to have a better life than us, right? And then lastly, goals and dreams. So all of this really for me is just the purpose of breaking that generational curse of poverty. And it starts with education.
Firmly believe it. You said something, and again, I don't think I mentioned this, so I can't say again, but Tiffany is a believer, everyone. And that was something else that she mentioned about the company, that they're filled with representatives who also are believers. And to have this, right, even while you were talking about just not having a plan, right, biblically, it even lets us know, like writing the vision, making it plain, right? Biblically, we are instructed to have a plan in place. And like she said, it is difficult to achieve certain goals and dreams if you don't write these things down. Yes, you can have them in your mind, but how oftentimes do we get forgetful, we get busy with life, we push things to the back burner. But when you write them down, when you make notes in your phones, when you set those alarms, stuff gets done. Like when I want to work out, the time I want to work out, I set an alarm on my phone. That may seem extreme, but if I don't set it, I'm not going to, make that goal come to fruition for that day. So I think all of this is very, 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 very profound. I don't want to jump ahead, but are you finished? What
Yes.
question was
Yes.
that? See this? How?
That's
That was three. There we go. Question number four. So she's very informative. So now we want you to tell us about like your journey in Primerica so far.
great. Thank you. So I'm going to be very transparent.
Oh,
I
I'm
will.
sorry. I'm sorry. So you
Oh,
could tell us from the perspective of you as a representative, and also if I mean, I'm sure you have Primerica as like your own life insurance, and you
of
have
course.
the policy. So you could talk about from both perspectives.
Okay, great. Yeah. So in terms of being representative, joining back in 2016, I was in my second year of teaching and loved it so much. I had no intention of ever going into business for myself because back then I never saw anything other than unethical business. But when I joined Primerica, and even prior, when I first saw a presentation similar to the one that you've seen snippets of, all I can say to myself is this is exactly what I can see myself doing because I'm serving and I'm also getting paid without pushing directly into my client's pocket, right? They're not paying me directly, the company is. And so when I saw that opportunity, I wanted to jump on it, but just as part time. However, being a single mother has changed my perception because a lot of us probably have that feeling of like, I don't have enough time. And I'm not getting paid enough, right? And oftentimes we say to ourselves, how are we going to make ends meet and still be a good parent or still be a good wife and do all these things? So ultimately, once I had my daughter, I feel like God just like put that light bulb in my head and said like you have to do this. This is your calling and this is how you can reach freedom while serving. So I allowed myself at that time in 2018 to come back and make a decision to plant my flag there full time one day. And so when it comes to Primerica, a lot of people understand or sometimes we see a lot of people that are successful and it's true there are so many people that are successful but they did not get there overnight. And so I make it very clear to the team that I have built that nothing is get rich quick, not in Primerica. You have to put your best foot forward and it is an everyday decision. It's all about discipline, it's about having momentum. And for myself, as of right now, I'm not where I want to be, and that's me being transparent. But I also know that if I went as simple as making that decision of I'm putting my foot in this, and even if I'm drowning, I'm going to keep doing it every single day, right? And only then will I know that I'm going to hit progress. Because for those of you that are in business or know about entrepreneurialism, the moment you have momentum, you can't let go. You cannot take your foot off the gas, right? And so oftentimes that happened to me, that happened to a lot of my people that are part of my base shop. And we know for a fact that you cannot give up. It's not a race because all of us started at the same place. We all started at the bottom. My coach, who um, is one of our top income earners in the entire company, will tell you he started just like me, and so I think that's important. And from a client perspective, again, I'm a single mother, so not only am I protected, but my daughter's protected, right? Because we never want to think about losing our children, but how many children have we seen GoFundMe's for? Right. It's a very real thing. And we want to make sure that all of those things are prepared in advance. Now, if again, I was talking about everything. So if you look at this financial house, for instance, all of those things are in place for me in terms of Primerica. I have my own financial needs analysis. I have life insurance for both me and my daughter. I have an emergency fund for myself. I have a will. I have another account which is specifically for my daughter Amelia. She has her own fund. And I specifically did not choose college because there's a chance she might just join mommy in the business, right? So we can just use that money. I also have my retirement fund and my payoff for whatever debt I have, which is minimal, will get paid off in a very fast amount of time. And then goals and dreams. So Donjia knows I'm also saving for a house for myself. So that's something like all of these plans are only put in place because of Primerica. Before this, I was financially illiterate. and I'm an English teacher. So keep in mind, we have people in the field that are from a financial background, but still did not know many of the concepts until they joined Primerica.
Wow. Wow. So, y'all know I always be like to pull scriptures. So, in connecting with Tiffany, um, many of you who know me personally know that it is my passion, and I believe definitely one of my callings to push people to be who God has called them to be. And I aggravate Tiffany. Oh my gosh. I'm going to put her business Instagram on here. But I even told her, I'm like, yo, like, and have all of this information. Like, how dare you not share this stuff with people? Like, how dare you? So I thank God even just for this platform and just doing this Ask 15 questions too. Because instantly when I was creating the lineup, she was one of the people that I definitely wanted to be a part of. But I wanted to like wait a few videos because I already knew I wanted her in here the first video, but I didn't want to stick her out there because I know she was gonna give me pushback. But let me share this with you, Tiffany. So I'm gonna, y'all know I tag the scriptures. Hebrews 13 and 16. It says, do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God.
Amen. Yes.
Anytime you even feel fear or whatever to share this information with people, and we're not done, guys. We still have more questions, but I just wanted to share that because, like you said, this is you're English teacher, and there are people that even come from a financial background who did not have this information. And for you to be in a position to have this information, not only to create other representatives or to help people sign up, but you yourself, like I always test people out on like a product or something that they're trying to present to me if they have it. Right. So the fact that you are also a representative, but also a client of the company that you represent says a lot to me. And it should also say a lot to you all, because many people will sell things. And I tell people all the time, like, I am not going to promote something that I haven't tried out for myself and that, I don't know the benefits, because I want to be honest. I want to be transparent. So you are giving information from a perspective that someone who just would be a representative and not have or not be a client, it is different. You're talking from a different perspective. So thank you for being honest and just being very transparent with us. So I think this question on social media came up about 15 times. And the question is, question number 5, why is life insurance important? Why is life insurance important?
Great. So when it comes to life insurance, people oftentimes think about funeral and burial, right? That's the number one thing. However, when we talk about life insurance, we actually don't even call it life insurance in terms of Primerica. We call it income protection. And I'm going to explain why. So for instance, if you take a family, let's say a typical family, a mother, father, and they have a child, let's just look at their everyday expenses. There's daycare, there's mortgage, there's their car, their phone, their gas, their food, their clothing, and the list goes on, right? And these are everyday needs. If both parents are working, then they both play a vital financial role in those bills getting paid. Now, let's just say, heaven forbid, something happens to dad one day. One thing that we know is that although this woman just lost her husband and her child's father, she also lost a financial asset, right? And those bills don't stop. And they don't get cut in half just because she's experiencing a loss. So we talk about life insurance as income protection. It's supposed to replace your income in the event that something happens to you, because the last thing we want is our family to struggle if something were to happen to us.
Right.
We cannot determine what happens to us tomorrow. Right? The reality is that anything can happen in this life, especially in the midst of what we're going through with this pandemic, right? And so we tell our families and our clients that it's critical for you to make sure that you have coverage that doesn't just cover the funeral and burial. You need to make sure that your family can be sustained if something happens. Imagine having purchased your first home with your wife and then something happens. Then that house can't exist. Her car can't exist. Now her and your child have to figure it out, right? Then again, this is again from an empathic perspective. Imagine the devastation of losing a loved one. And now you're dealing with financial devastation, right? So income protection is extremely important if you have responsibilities.
Yeah, wow. That's yeah, and that puts it like you said, you only think of funeral costs, burial, and that's it. No one tells, I mean, the bill collectors, they may be have a little empathy for the first few days, but then they're gonna be calling you back again. Like, hey, I understand your wife died or your husband died or your child just died. They got that bereavement period, and then they're back calling again, and that is definitely a great perspective. Okay, so now that we know the importance of life insurance, question number 6? What are the different types of life insurance, and what is covered in each of them? So this is a two-part.
Great. I'm actually going to go into the next slide so that we can all look at this visually. I might get a bit fiery here because this is my passion.
Fiery, y'all. Watch out. Somebody get the fire extinguisher.
So let's talking about the two types of life insurance. So the one thing is on the left-hand side, you'll see there's something called cash value life insurance. Some people might have heard of it called whole life insurance, universal life, variable life. There are 1,000 names, but they all fall under cash value. And so how this policy functions is you'll see here you have John and Mary. They're 35 years old, and in this case, they're receiving $100,000 of coverage. Now, when you hear whole life, it literally sounds like, okay, I'm going to be protected for my entire life. I am protected. So that means for $225 a month, this couple is being protected for a total of $200,000, meaning if something happens to John, Mary gets 100, right? Or vice versa. Now, an agent that sells this will also say that you will receive your savings portion that's built into your premium. So that means if this family is paying $225, that $225 is being spread between a savings portion and their life insurance. Okay. And when we hear bundles, we automatically think, whoopee, I'm getting a deal, right? Yeah. However, what we've learned here is that so there's a 1,000 things that I can say about this, but the long story short is that if something happens to Mary within the confines and language of a whole life policy, and John calls the company and says, hey, I'm looking to receive the $176,880 from the policy, right? Because you're paying for both. The company will say, but didn't you read the fine print? When the time comes, John can only choose between that life insurance benefit or their savings. He cannot have both. And this is the malfunction of a whole life policy. If you have an agent that has sold this to you, I strongly suggest you ask them to read the policy to you, to read the fine print, because again, how oftentimes do we read the fine print of our contracts? Unfortunately, we're in the habit of constantly agreeing to terms and we didn't read them, right? And so this is a common case where something like that can happen. Now, again, there's a lot that I can say about whole life, but that is the general principle, right? You're paying for 2 accounts, but you can only receive one. Wow. The other goes to the company. Now with Primerica, what we've offered is term insurance. Now, term insurance is as it is, it's for a certain period of time. And so, for instance, John and Mary, same couple, and their 2 children are being covered. So now we have instead of 100,000 each, they're being covered for 250,000 each, but their monthly premium is only $80. So that's a significant difference. And now what we've done is we said, we know that having a savings portion is just as important as life insurance. However, they shouldn't be coupled together. We're going to separate them. So now we take in this case, the difference of $145, and we just transfer it to a separate savings account. They're not tied together. Now, here you'll see it says $145 at 9% because most of our accounts that we offer average 9%. within a span of time. So that's a whole other topic, but over a span of time, you can earn 9% on your money.
So that's like the interest.
Right, the interest, right? And so in this case, interest was working for you, not against you like it does in a credit card, right? And so here within 30 years, this couple will have an additional $265,000 that they can use towards retirement. Now, oftentimes couples will say, well, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with term. What if I need it after the term? Well, your Primerica representative is making a game plan for you to become self-insured. And that is something that we actually preach to our families, because the reality is we don't want you to rely on life insurance for your whole life. If you're doing all of the things that you should be doing, which is saving and having a plan in place, there's no reason to have life insurance for your entire life, because at one point you'll have so much money left in savings that there's no need for life insurance. You would eliminate the need, right? And so again, a lot of factors are involved, including your age. And so, for instance, like myself, I'm 28, but I've had my life insurance policy since I think I was 26 years old. I don't have, although I'm a teacher, I don't have a 403B, which is a retirement fund. I actually have my retirement fund with Primerica. So my Roth IRA is with Primerica, and then my life insurance is with Primerica. So whatever difference, everything goes to my retirement, right? And so but that is an intentional thing that I'm doing. And so we want our families to be equally intentional, but we know that it requires discipline, right? So if you've ever had an agent from another company or even Primerica, like, we want to make sure that it's our duty to build a relationship with you. We don't just leave your house and like think that we have like cash emojis in our brain, right? We want to make sure that 3 months down the line, you're still saving, that you're still paying into your life insurance, that you're still focusing on paying off your debt, right? We're going to be checking in with you constantly to make sure that you're meeting all of those things so that when retirement does come, you have money, right? And then you can also say, hey, not only do I have money for that, I have money for my children's inheritance. I have money for my funeral and burial. I have my debt's already paid off, so I don't have to worry about that, right? Those are the things that we're going to be doing, but it's all layered and it works simultaneously.
Wow. So it's kind of like that idea of like weaning a child off of a pacifier. Like, you don't want your child to grow up and be an adult and still using the pacifier, but you give it to them while they're young. I don't really, but you give it to them while they're young, and that I think that is, like a smart gesture for Primerica to do, because again, I forgot the term that you used. Oh, self-insured. That's what you said. Yeah, self-insured. Because now you don't have all of these ties with other people. You don't have this reliance on other people. You are actually paying for these things. It's like that moment you want to be able to go to a house and put money down on a house and pay for your house and not have to get a loan. Like, those are like goals, right? Those are the things that you wish you can do. And I think that this is amazing that you all are focused on doing that. So another question that I guess this kind of like ties into it. Question number 7 was, how long does it typically take for a payout after like someone passed away that has Primerica?
So a payout can, for us, we pride ourselves on being able to meet a death claim within 14 days. However, that doesn't mean that a client will not receive assistance prior to that. So if you, let's say that if heaven forbid a family member does pass away, you can let the funeral home know who where your life insurance is. If it's through Primerica, they already know that they can rely on us. So all of those financial needs will be taken care of, even if it's not it's going to happen within 14 days, guaranteed. Okay. Yeah. I also wanted to just mention, like, in terms of like something that's covered in terms of life insurance, because I know that that's also a common question about what's covered. So one thing that I find to be I am so grateful to know that all of these things exist within life insurance. Primerica has things that are built into its policy that a lot of companies can't compete with. So although we can, like, we'll never say that we're the cheapest insurance. The reality is that cheaper is not always better, right? But there is this idea that all term is equal. And that's not true. And so, for instance, one of the things that I'm extremely proud of and that I'm passionate about is the fact that we do not have an attack on terror clause in our life insurance policy. So I'm going to explain what that means. On 9/11, which many of us remember, right? For those of us that were here, we know that many people died that day. What we probably don't know is that when families called their life insurance companies, they were not paying them the death benefit, because many companies, a majority of companies, have an attack on terror clause in the fine print of their policy that says if this person has died within the confines of a terrorist attack, we don't need to pay. Primerica was one of the few companies, there was actually two companies, National Benefit Life, which is the New York sister company of Primerica, and Primerica, that paid death claims on 9/11. And that's something I'm very proud of, because now we're talking about ethics, right? Can you imagine a family not receiving a benefit on 9/11?
Right. Already dealing with the tragedy of what happened. Right. And then you're told, like, oh no, because of the way this person died,
right,
you can't. Wow. Right. Yeah.
And we also do something that's called a disability waiver of premium. So let's just say, and this actually happened to a client of mine, where if you happen to get hurt and something happens and you're unable to work, Primerica will pay your monthly premiums for up to a period of 6 months. And if your disability extends that, they will pay it for the life of your policy, because they don't want it to relapse. That's, to me, like, again, we're talking ethics, right? And another thing is in terms of our terminal illness benefit rider. So that's something where if a person that has our policy is diagnosed with a terminal illness, they can receive up to $250,000 of their life insurance when they're alive, right? And again, these are things that can be coupled into other policies from other companies, but you might have to pay for them, and possibly a lot if you think about it.
Right. Yeah, it does sound like it will be a lot more. Wow. Okay. All right. That was a bonus question, y'all. Don't try to count that, because y'all be in the comment section like it was 16, it was 17. So now we're in question number 8, and that is, what is a common misconception about life insurance? I had insurance here, but I meant to say life insurance.
So a common misconception, and I've stated it before, is that all insurance is equal, and that's not true. And we can talk about this from a term insurance perspective, and we can also talk about this from a whole life perspective. And so I've seen whole life policies that are designed to self-destruct, meaning they're designed to cancel itself out and leave that family without a policy, right? And so again, it's extremely critical that you're not only sitting down with someone that you trust, but sitting down with someone who's willing to educate you on the fine print, right? And then when it comes to term insurance, again, we're not the cheapest, but when you look at the benefits, you really have to compare them to make sure that you're receiving the best bang for your buck, right? And so we want to make sure that not only is it affordable, because we can say that we're affordable, but it has to be something that's worth investing in, right?
Wow. Okay. So Miss Rodriguez, Tiffany, what would you say, number 9, what would you say to someone who says, I can't afford life insurance?
That's a great question. So part of our financial needs analysis, we actually have a budget worksheet. And so what I've noticed is that a lot of my clients and people that I've sat down with don't realize where their money is going.
I know where mine's going. It's going to food.
And so, right, you going, yeah, definitely, we're foodies. And so it's interesting, because I've seen families that make a lot of money and families that don't make a lot of money, and neither know where their money is going. And however, when it comes time to do this budget spreadsheet, it's like, oh, sometimes we forget, like Donjia and I do our nails religiously. We do our nails, right? We do our nails. And we know for a fact, like, there are women that is their way that they treat themselves, right? And then, like, again, we have gamers, right? We have gamers. There are plenty of people that make investments, but we need to think about and sometimes it's the small things, like, did you forget about that gym membership? I know you haven't been going, but do you know that you're still paying for it? Right?
Okay. The Apple Music.
Right. Everything.
Man.
Netflix, Disney Plus, all of those things. add up at the end of the day, right? And so I'm sure that if I sat down with, like, the first thing I would say is, if I sat down with you and we worked on your budget, I'm sure that we can find a place where $60, if they're single, or even if they're like me, a single parent, 60-ish dollars, we can find a place where you don't need to have it elsewhere, and we can allocate it towards something important, like having a $300,000 plus policy in the event that something happens, right? It's all about taking money and reallocating it to things that are more important and prioritizing.
Wow. So no more excuses, y'all. Not even me. No more excuses. You heard it. Sit down with Tiffany, do that budget sheet. So that is what she has to say to y'all folks that keep saying y'all don't have the money to buy no life insurance. don't go to the corner store and get that bacon, egg, and cheese.
That's
don't
right.
go and get it. It's good, but you can make that at home. But okay. Question number 10. What is a good age to get a policy? And I noticed there was a few younger people. I don't remember their ages, but I would say that they were between like the ages of like 18 and like 20-ish that asked this question on social media.
That's a great question. So I will say that life insurance is important. However, how much coverage you have depends on your level of responsibilities, right? So if you're 18, you're in college, and let's just say that you don't have a scholarship, we still don't know what can happen to you. That's the reality, right? You might be 18, but things happen to 18-year-olds, right? Now, your policy will be relatively cheaper. And you also, so for Primerica, we only offer the lowest amount is 150,000, which might cost that 18-year-old, if they're healthy, I'm going to say under maybe anywhere between $30. I'm going to just say 30. I'm going to round it at 30 because it depends, but that's something that can be affordable. Now, if you're older, like let's say that you're in your 40s and you have a wife and children and a house and all of these bills that you know need to get paid, and if something happens, they still need to get paid, you might need more than that. So one rule that we put in place is to say, whatever your current income is, your life insurance should be 10 times the amount. Now that's just, and now this is something, again, because we're talking about sustaining your family in the event that something happens.
Right.
Again, putting numbers to it, what that looks like is if I make $60,000, I need to be covered for $600,000. That's not including my daughter. She would have her own separate coverage, which children can be covered up to $50,000, right? So it's really about anyone can have a policy, but I think that we need to also consider, hey, if you're 18, you don't need as much coverage. You should probably start putting more of that money towards a savings plan, right? Towards saving immediately. If we can have young adults saving as soon as possible, it's only going to be for their benefit.
Right. Especially with what you mentioned about earlier, becoming more like self-sufficient, for lack of a better terms. Like the younger, say it again?
We also use the term financially independent.
Yes, like the earlier you can do that. And I know for a fact, I was groomed amazingly, instilled a lot of things, but saving was not one of those things that was like instilled in me. I really didn't know too much about it. I'm just now getting to the point where I'm like, I need a savings account. I need this. And even then it's like, this bill gotta get paid. Let me just go into the savings, and then next thing you know, your savings is like depleted. But then you realize how important that is. But like you said, with the policy that you all offer, the money is automatically coming out, right? So like I have money that's automatically coming out of my check to go into my savings, but I'm also dipping in my
right. And so
dipping into my savings.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. It's cool that you say that. So like the first thing is that when it comes to having a savings portion, or like you said, sometimes your savings gets depleted, or the first thing we think about when we get paid is bills, right? And at Primerica, we try to have our clients internalize the concept of pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. And it's hard for us because we don't want to do that, right? So for us, being that we're Christian, I need to tithe first. I have to, because I realize that if I don't, my account can go to zero real quick. Right?
Yeah, listen, pay the Lord first.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and so even this month, like I had to tithe double because I didn't know where to transfer that tithe last time. I'm like, I don't know which charity now, but this time, like I doubled it. And we'll talk about where I sent it. But I doubled my tithe, and I still have so much money left over, and I immediately put it in my emergency fund with Primerica. What's fun about it is that I refuse to take it out, but even if I wanted to, I would have to wait. So it gives me think time. Like, do I really need whatever I'm trying to take this money out for right now? Do I really need it? Right. And so we have to become more disciplined. The other thing is like when it comes to having a savings plan, we just want to make sure that we don't want to say living below our means, but you need to be able to train yourself to know what you want, need, and can afford.
Yeah. Because
Those are
what's so funny is, I'm sorry to cut you off, is that I noticed that a common thing, and I can even speak from like personal just experience, but also with other people that I speak to, when we get a pay increase in a salary or whatever, our expenses tend to increase. Like I've noticed that. And it's like things that we take on. Like, yeah, before I couldn't afford that monthly subscription to Hulu or whatever. So I didn't have it and I lived without it. But now that I have more money, I'm gonna take on more bills. And it's almost like, and again, biblically, right? Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like our mindsets have to be renewed. I can even speak from like the urban or cultural or ethnic community, right? Like there are some things like I remember like being in college and having friends of other ethnicities and seeing like how they would dress and seeing what they would wear. And I'm just like, but yet their parents are pulling up in like these nice cars and like all these things. I'm like, well, you don't look like you got that. Or going to visit a friend's house and it's like, you didn't look like you own this, right? And it's a mindset, right? Like we spend money on like the latest Jordans or updating our phones or like every time a new phone come out, every time a new game console come out, we're spending. And it's like, do we really need that? Like, and again, you keep saying it, like Primerica, y'all goal is to renew the minds of us individual, because it is, and it's a hard process, right? Like you think about, it took me a minute to get to the point where I was tithing first, because I'm like, oh, this bill is due and I just got paid, let me pay it. But then when I put into the concept of like, whoever I'm paying first, I'm exalting them as Lord. That's all you got to do is make me feel like I'm putting somebody above God, and I'm just like convicted to the 10th degree, right? I'm like, oh no. So from that moment on, I began to tithe first, because I'm like, God, I don't want to subconsciously say to you that these things are greater than you. These things are the Lord of my life. No, they are not. You have provided this money for me, and I want to honor you by giving you what. And think about it, like the tithing principle is just so profound, and it's so hard for us because of our flesh, one, I believe. But then if we think about it, like just even the concept of $100, God is only asking you for 10. 90 is yours.
Right. And it's so funny that you say that, because I think that that's one of the mindsets that we have to shift. We have to remember that none of this is ours. And whatever we tithe, we have to remember that our God is going to give us back in abundance, right? Because we're tithing first and giving him our first fruits. And so I think that's critical. And and this is not a Primerica lesson, but if you're a believer, then that should be your the first, if nothing else. Should be the first thing. And again, I remember just in First Corinthians, it says a very clear, like it's a very clear command. It's black and white.
That's it. And that's the bottom line. Okay, I think we are. Okay, question number 11. This was a great question. It says, if someone has health issues before a policy, does that impact what is covered?
That's a great question. I will say that it doesn't impact what is covered. It impacts, first, it depends on what the ailment is. So for instance, I have asthma. Now, that only means that if you were an average 26-year-old at the time taking out a policy, it would probably be a little bit cheaper for you. For me, it costs a bit more. It's still affordable, but it costs slightly more. Now, depending on what the ailment is, we have something called COD. So what that means is essentially we would put the policy, we would send it to the home office, and they would have to wait for the medical. So underwriting, which is a term that means we're literally checking thoroughly through your history to see exactly what level you're at. And so we have tables to determine your level of health, and all of those things dictate what your premium looks like. Now, for instance, I do have a sister in Christ that I love deeply, who suffered from brain cancer, and she, well, glory to God that she is completely healthy. It was as if she never had it. However, that impacted her to not be able to qualify for a Primerica life insurance policy. And so it's important for us to recognize that at the end of the day, when it comes to insurance, we have to think logistically. If you're more at risk of death, that does stump your chances, right? However, depending on what the ailment is, your premium might be slightly higher. And I think that also it's a wake-up call for some of us, right? Because what if we're not healthy? What if we haven't been eating right? What if we gained maybe like 80 to 100 pounds and we're cognizant of what we're doing. Now you're being called to stop doing those things and to get yourself back on track, right? And so there's also like a 30-day wait. Like there's a period of time that Primerica will like allow you to just like, you can get all of your things checked within a certain period of time. You get to schedule that, all your medical underwriting prior. So that gives you time to prep yourself in advance. But I think it's important for all of us to know that, when it comes to your insurance, it depends on the severity.
All right. Absolutely. Y'all hear that? Take care of yourself. Take care of yourselves. And I mean, and as you mentioned, like there's some things that are just completely like, out of our control, and
right.
things that, I firmly believe that God is a healer. And, to God be all the glory for your sister in Christ who was, healed completely from brain cancer. And I believe you told me this testimony before, like without anything, without surgery,
right.
Just Dr. Jesus, as he always does, as he always does. Okay. We're almost at the end, guys. So question number 12, how could someone become a Primerica representative?
Great. So Donjia mentioned before that someone reached out to her in terms of recruiting. Now, recruiting sometimes leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. But if you are working right now, someone recruited you.
Exactly.
Sometimes you probably recruited yourself because you applied. Right? And so we have to remember that. And so this is a mindset that a lot of us have to get out of. I think we're in a generation where our generation and the generation after us, they are entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs. They are building businesses because they do not want the classic 9 to 5. It's not sufficient for them anymore, right? And so when it comes to Primerica, the reality is that if you meet someone from Primerica, their goal is to recruit you. And I'm going to explain why, because that's my next passion. When it comes to the business, we're not just agents that are selling to make money. That is not my direct line. My direct line is building a business. And so ultimately, if I am attempting to expose you to the business and teach you the business, it's because I believe that you have the same chance that I do at reaching financial independence. You have the same opportunity to build a business in Primerica. And so one of the best facts, and you can also go on Google and look it up, the number one company that has the highest amount of people earning $100,000 or more is Primerica. We've recently reached, I believe we're at number 103, our 103rd millionaire in the company. And those are big numbers, right? Second to that is Google in terms of how many people that are making 100K plus. We're number one. And so I think that that's something to remember, because we're part of companies. Like, the reality is that if you are working somewhere right now, I want you to think about your chances of being the CEO, of being the vice president, of being the boss. They're minimal. And so
I'll stay silent.
And so becoming a Primerica representative is as simple as showing, first of all, you and Donjia knows this, that at the time the person that recruited my partner at the time had no intention of recruiting me. I was just meant to be support. However, it was like God was just like, listen, try this out. And I'm the one that stayed in the business. I'm the one that stayed, and I'm the one that I just happen to be so passionate about it because of all of the things that we do. And again, changing my perspective from wanting to be a teacher to wanting to be a business owner, right? So anyone that's 18 or older can be in Primerica. If you happen to have a criminal background, Primerica will still review your application because everyone deserves a shot. And they're the ones that are in control of whether you would be deemed that chance, but at least you can still apply. You have to qualify to be in Primerica. So essentially, you have to do a background check. And there is an IBA fee. So this is something that people, again, feel some type of way about, but the reality is, like, I'm a teacher. I had to pay for my certifications. I had to pay to take the praxis. I had to pay the state for all of those things. The same thing applies with Primerica. When you enter Primerica, you pay for your background check the same way you would for your fingerprints going into any state job. And then you also have the opportunity to earn a state license in New Jersey. That's our life insurance license is actually at $1,000. Primerica pays 900 of that. Primerica pays 900 of that. And I think that's great. And so, the other licenses are securities based relating to investing. Primerica pays a huge portion of that. And I've seen it with my own eyes. And so again, if you're 18 and you have a desire to have something that's part-time. So again, we talk about part-time. There's a silent partner, meaning if, let's say, you're extremely busy and the most you can do is refer people to me, you can still get your license. You can refer people to me. I will work with them. And then if they decide that they would like to be a client and implement anything that our business has, you get paid a portion because you referred them, right? You can also work spare time, because the beauty of Primerica is that no one's, not to say you shouldn't be held accountable, but no one's going to be hounding you, right? No one's going to sit there saying, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. And sometimes that's a blessing and a curse, because if you have no discipline, no one's looking out, no one's checking in. Although there are people checking in, but they're not yelling at you like your boss probably might, right? They're going to check in.
No deadlines.
Right, with your, right, about 10 jokes. All right. Yeah. So, and that's something that I think is important. So like with my coach, I'm held accountable to him, and it's hard sometimes because you don't want to sit there saying, I didn't do anything today. You did things, but not relating to your business.
Right. Wow. So I would like to deem myself as a silent person right now, even though I'm talking this whole video. No, I'm just playing. All right. We kind of like touched on these two questions, so I'm going to kind of couple them together. So question 13 and 14 is, what are some pros of a policy and what are some cons of a policy? And I know we kind of like been touching on it, but just to couple it all together.
Yeah. So some pros of the policy would be the value of the policy. So all of the benefits that you get, which again, I've only named a few. There's so much more that I can say. And there's so much more that I can say in terms of comparing term insurance versus whole life. I also wanted to note, I'm not sure if I said it already, Primerica is the only company in America, in all of North America, that sells term insurance 100% of the time. We do not offer whole life. We don't offer cash value. And the reason why is because we understand the injustice behind it. Okay. And so that's something that, Donjia knows, like, I get super passionate about this because I want you to think about what I said previously in the video and then say to yourself, why are people selling that? If you ask yourself, why do companies sell that? Then I want you to think about how profound it is that Primerica is the only company that doesn't sell it. Out of all companies, that I think there are about maybe 200-ish companies left. There used to be 900. Now there's about 200, and they still all sell whole life. Some cons to our policy, I would say that, let's just say in the event, because I can't speak on behalf of every Primerica representative, let's just say there's a chance that a client kept their life insurance but chose not to save. let's say that happens, and sometimes that can happen. If that happens to be the case, then a con is that you might end up needing your life insurance a lot longer than you deemed, and because of that, your premium after the term would be higher, right? Because now you're older. That would be one of the cons that I would say.
Okay. All right. And then our final question. I'm pretty sure Tiff can send me all of the links with information. I'm going to put it in the description box so you can look at more videos and testimonials of Primerica and all of that stuff. So our final question is, where can someone contact you to set up an appointment to either meet with you to have this amazing presentation done more extensively, to, want to sign up for a policy, or if they want to become a Primerica representative?
Great. That's a great question. So Donnie knows that I'm currently fasting from social media. However, if you are interested, Danye will give you my direct number so that you can contact me directly. When it comes to Primerica, one of the things that we do is we're actually a warm market business. So what that means is we are based from referrals. And the logic is this: instead of me knocking on doors, let me serve people that I care about. And if I do a great job, they would also want to refer me to people that I don't know that they care about, who they would want to also be served, right? And so that's how Primerica functions. Not to say that there are people that aren't working in the cold market, there are, but that is our basis. So if this video is something you come across and you are interested in learning more information, because I only shared a tidbit of what we really do, please contact Danye and she will just send you my direct number, and she will also be providing you with my Primerica email.
There you have it, folks. We want to thank Tiffany Rodriguez for coming on here and answering our extensive, it was 15 questions with like maybe one or two bonus questions. But we thank you for coming on and sharing this information. And you all get into the life insurance. I also wanted you to share, I know this video is getting long, but during this time, this is a bonus question, not 16, bonus. See, when I add a word to it, it doesn't count as a number. During this time, like the year 2020, what is some insight that your company has done for like COVID-19? And like, I think then, I don't even know the numbers now, but I know it's like in the 200 something thousands of people that died. Right. During this time. So do you have any like information on like what Primerica has done?
Primerica completely revolutionized their business in the midst of a pandemic. So I'm sure you've seen, if you have children at home, how the teachers just within hours shifted from in class to virtual learning. The same shift happened for Primerica. Immediately, we had Zoom accounts. Immediately, everything became virtual and easily functioning. And also, when it comes to people that were struggling, if anyone passed away, benefits were paid. And they also provided extensions for their for premium payments, and as well for families that, let's say, if you wanted to get, now there was a scare, right, with life insurance. People were told, if you don't have life insurance right now, you better get it, right? Because now we don't know. And so Primerica had a certain period of time where if you were interested in getting a policy, you would have to, of course, get tested to make sure that you don't have it, and then you would qualify. So that's something that, they were putting a lot of things in place and attempting to be as ethical as possible in everything that they were doing, just to make sure that we're still benefiting the client in the midst of a crisis like this.
Wow. So listen, guys, take advantage of all of this information. This is why I firmly believe the Lord laid it on my heart to do these Ask 15 questions. Yeah, we have a lot of fun, but a lot of the things is informative information. And specifically this episode, I was really excited to do that. And I'm so proud of my best friend, and I'm going to tell her once we finish. But thank you again, Tiffany, for coming on here and sharing all of this amazing information. And guys, you take heed to this. In the description box, I'm going to put all of the things that you need. Also, if you are interested, reach out to me, or you can send an email to Tiffany. We'll put that in the description box as well. Take advantage. If you do not have life insurance, take advantage.
Or anything.
Or anything. Yeah,
Like
any savings. She helps you get your financial stuff in order. Reach out to her, even if you just have questions. If you want to email her, like, hey, y'all answered a lot of questions, but this is my question. Email her and she will get back to you on it. But again, thank you so much, Tiffany, for being here. And as I say to you guys all the time, make sure you are living in purpose on purpose. Okay? Bye.
I believe everything I said is true. The word is inside you. Declare it is a good